if you vote and then pass away, it's worth it.
Well, it's finally come. Today is the day that the Republican primary for president begins. Starting, of course, in Iowa with the Iowa caucuses. And in these final days of campaigning, Trump has now decided to turn on Vivek Ramaswamy. So I'm going to get to some polling in what will likely happen in Iowa and a few videos, including from Vivek, from Trump, from Ron DeSantis. But this is, I'll get to why I think he's doing this. But here's Trump on Truth Social a couple days ago now, saying Vivek started his campaign as a great supporter, quote, the best president in generations, etc. Unfortunately, now all he does is disguise his support in the form of deceitful campaign tricks. Very sly. But a vote for Vivek is a vote for the other side, quote unquote. Don't get duped by this. Vote for Trump. Don't waste your vote. Vivek is not MAGA. The Biden indictments against his political opponent will never be allowed in this country. They are already beginning to fall. MAGA. So a lot of, grammar errors. But I don't know why I'm even pointing that out. Of course there are. It's Trump. This is an interesting turn, considering when we get to polling, Vivek is not really a threat to anybody. But this was followed up by this post that was this morning. A vote for Vivek is a wasted vote. And this is all caps. I like Vivek, but he played it too cute, quote unquote, with us. Caucus tonight, vote for Donald J. Trump, build up the numbers. In November, we must take our very troubled nation, a nation in decline, back from crooked Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats and thugs who are destroying it. MAGA. Excuse me, I'm sick again, as you can see, because I have a child in daycare. But this is... It's just funny. It's just funny because it's so ridiculous. This is the polling right now in Iowa. Trump sitting at 52.7%. Nikki Haley is the next closest. She has passed Ron DeSantis, now sitting at 18.7. DeSantis at 15.8, and Ramaswamy at 6.4. So I think it's, unless something incredible happens, like all of Trump's supporters in Iowa don't like going out in the cold to go in a caucus, then it's very likely Trump's going to win and win big in Iowa. The reason why I think he's going after Ramaswamy here specifically is because Ramaswamy is the one person he can really pull support from. So I think Trump really wants to have a clear blowout over Haley and DeSantis, and Ramaswamy has been the one candidate who has campaigned as a diehard Trump supporter while also running against him. Which is, it's really like it's next level fake politician. It's like, it's one thing to pretend you care about certain issues, pretend you care about people and run on these things. It's another to say, Trump is the greatest president we've ever had, while also trying to defeat him in an election. So, and we'll get to reactions from DeSantis because he touches on this to his credit. And I'll also get to Trump and Vivek reacting to Trump here. But it's important to remind ourselves of how unimportant Iowa is. Because back in 2016, many people forget this. Ted Cruz won Iowa in 2016. And then, of course, Trump went on to win everything else. But Iowa is really its own thing. And a lot of candidates focus a lot on Iowa because they think it's going to give them momentum into the future. And I guess to Cruz's credit, he was one of the last holdouts in the primary in 2016. But it doesn't mean a whole lot. And I'm saying this not because of Trump and his likelihood of winning, but it's let's say Nikki Haley surges to, I don't know, like 40% or something. It doesn't really mean a whole lot for the rest of the race. So even if there are some surprise results here, like say all of DeSantis' support goes to Nikki Haley and Nikki Haley jumps up, it's not really, it doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. Iowa, again, is its own thing. And even though I expect Trump to win it, don't be fooled by anyone else that may, slightly close the gap with him here. So here is Ron DeSantis. reacting to Trump throwing Ramaswamy under the bus.
You know, I noticed that they that he threw Vivek, he threw him under the bus. You know, it's like I've never seen a candidate run for an office and basically campaign for another candidate in the same race before, and that's what's happened. But the minute he wasn't useful, you know, they dropped the hammer on it. So that's just kind of the way they are. But look, we're going to go forward as a party. We can go forward in a way that's focused on people's issues, that's focused on a great agenda for America, or we can go forward with Trump, which will be focused, the 2024 election, on legal issues, on criminal trials, on convictions, on all these things with January 6th. And that gives the Democrats a huge advantage going forward. And I don't think that we want to do that. Why would we want to give them any advantage?
All right, so Ron DeSantis here, despite being a terrible governor, Florida, one of the worst states in the country with the high cost of living. It's a terrible state unless you're a wealthy bigot. But in terms of political strategy here, he is correct. Donald Trump, if and when he becomes the Republican nominee, it's going to be, I'm not saying Biden's going to win the election, but I think Biden has the best chance against Trump than he would against even Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley. And that's because the anti-Trump vote is very strong. The vote for Biden is not very strong. It's incredibly weak, in fact. But a lot of people will come out and vote for Biden anyways because they don't want Trump to be president again. If Trump is on the ballot, then at this point, and Biden's still the Democratic nominee, at this point, I think it would be close to guarantee win for Republicans. But Trump brings the whole thing down for the right. Now, that said, we're not in a world where Trump supporters are motivated by anybody else. Like, if we were in a world where they were motivated to vote for, Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, then, that scenario would play out the way it would play out. Democrats would lose for sure. But if Trump is taken off the ballot for a different reason, there's no guarantee that the Trump voter is going to come out and vote for a DeSantis or a Haley in 2024. But, in a hypothetical world where Trump voters were not part of a cult, it's very likely that Biden would have no chance in the election. But I want to get to a reaction here from Vivek as well, since, again, Vivek's been a massive Trump ass kisser. Here he is on Fox News reacting to Steve Doocy bringing up the fact that Trump has now gone after him.
Why do you think former President Trump threw you under the bus over the weekend?
Well, I didn't get thrown anywhere, but I think there might have been an attempt to do that. I'd say that it's partly because of what
you were under the bus.
Well, look, I'd say what Elon Musk and others are saying.
The bus had snow tires on it.
Well, I'll tell you this: I took it in a lighthearted way, but the truth is, people have to have their heads stuck in the snow not to see what's happening on the ground here. I know the mainstream media is ignoring it, but there has been a massive surge here late in the process. Mm-hmm. A number of endorsers who were widely expected to go to Donald Trump. Legends in Iowa, like former Congressman Steve King, widely expected to go for Trump, came for me. A number of the strongest constitutionalist conservatives have switched from the other candidates in the last 72 hours to me. Steve Holt came from Ron DeSantis. Right. And so I think people who are actually on the ground are not blind to that reality. And right. I think the mainstream media, largely for better or worse, has been, which means I think we're going to see a shock tonight.
Really fun to see Vivek spend his entire campaign kissing Trump's ass, only to now discuss these various endorsements that he thought would have gone for Trump go to him and clearly campaign for himself. As he was the whole time, because the whole point of kissing Trump's ass was to try and get closer to Trump supporters, which again is why Trump is specifically going after Vivek in an attempt to bring back some of that support that may have gone to Vivek that could go to him. It's all just so... This part of it is just spectacle and ridiculous because Vivek is not going to win Iowa. You're hearing it here first. He's not going to win Iowa. But he also, I'm not going to read this. The idea that any Republican would read all of this. Come on. So why would I read this if, even the voters in Iowa would not waste their time reading all of this? But he essentially goes on to discuss how much he loves Trump, all the defense he's done for him, and, blah, 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 blah. And it's not worth reading this on air, but you can go and read that yourself if you really care to hear a a politician be a politician. But last thing here, I want to show you. That's a great screenshot. Trump, what Trump's argument is for voting for him, and this is fantastic.
So if you want to save America from crooked Joe Biden, you must go caucus tomorrow. The first step. The first step. We got to do it. We got to do it big. You got to get out. You can't sit home. If you're sick as a dog, you say, darling, I got to make it. Even if you vote and then pass away, it's worth it. If you're sick, if you're just so sick you can't, darling, I don't think. Get up. Get up. You get up. You vote. Yes, darling. Ultimately, we know who calls the shots, right? Right, Polly?
This is why people like Trump. I'm not saying they should like him. In fact, they should not like him. You can like him as a right-wing comedian and not think he should be president or be in control of anything. We saw him try to steal an election. He's a terrible human being. He was a terrible president for 4 years, even before the election stealing attempt. He's not a good person, but he comes off as likable. He can be funny. You know, this whole, listen to the crowd reacting there, and the whole thing about, oh, we know who calls the shots in the house. You know, it's your wife. Like this is just, he comes off as an affable person. And this is why he still has support, especially, this is most important, why he has support with people who would not normally vote. He has the appeal, that wide appeal to typical non-voters who just hate politicians, even though Trump is a quintessential corrupt politician. He plays it off. He fools enough people to think that he's your average billionaire. So it's incredible to see how long lasting his support has been throughout everything, throughout all the illegality, throughout all of his lies. Remember, he was going to solve healthcare. He had a whole plan ready. What happened to that? None of that matters to his diehard supporters. They just like him as a person. And they're also racist, but that's, a whole other part of it. So I am curious to see what the end result will be in Iowa. I, of course, expect Trump to win the state, but will Nikki Haley come out as the clear second place, and will that give her momentum going to the future? Will Ron DeSantis shock people and overtake Nikki Haley and come in a close second? Unlikely. I really expect it to be Trump, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Ramaswamy, in that order. But how close each of them are to first place and between each other, I think will help to possibly dictate future states. Though, again, Iowa is its own thing. So if Nikki Haley or someone else hops up to like a really close second, don't expect that to last throughout the primary.